Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Game Master and welcome again to my channel. Well, I'm going to do a little bit of a rant of some of the things I've heard about EA this morning, watching Sid Alpha's and Jim Sterling's channel and give you my thought on it. I find it absolutely hilarious that EA's response to the recent Star Wars Battlefront controversy has gotten the most downvotes in the history of Reddit. That is pretty bad, but I find it freaking golden. Just absolutely hilarious. And it's what I expected from EA. They said they would fix the problems with the loot box and the microtransactions, and when I saw that, it's like, yeah, they're going to fix it to where it's nowhere near as annoying, but it's still going to be an annoyance. It's still going to be a problem. Count me out when it comes to buying the new Star Wars Battlefront. And that's exactly was my attitude. I don't plan on buying it until I see it in some freaking bargain bin for $5, or I see it somewhere online for, $5 or less, because they got a setup for a free-to-play mobile game in a $60 package. Bullcrap. I'm not going to stand for it. And it seems like a lot of people who have early access to the game due to another EA subscription service has kind of reported that the problems really weren't fixed, they were just dumbed down, which, like I said, was expected, and people are furious and are quickly getting out there and telling people to cancel their pre-orders. This is exactly what needs to happen, folks. You don't buy the game and said, well, I'm not going to touch the loot boxes and the microtransactions because they are now such an integral part of the game experience. When you don't touch them, it still gets recorded, because here's what people need to understand. We're no longer gaming on the NES or the Super Nintendo where the developers and the publishers don't know or understand the gaming needs after we pop them in the system. Our systems, our computers are now connected online, and they collect data for the publishers to see. I showed you that yesterday in a video. How come 2K can say their latest basketball game is a big success when there's negative reviews all over Steam due to their microtransactions? Because the metadata collected from Steam and collected from the console say a lot of people are still playing the game despite the hassle. So if you go through the game without buying those microtransactions, EA might not collect those extra money, but the game data says that people are still willing to play. And if people are still willing to play, then they are still going to be willing to pay extra for microtransactions at some point, so there's no need to worry. What's happening with Star Wars Battlefront 2 absolutely needs to happen. People need to say, I'm canceling my pre-order, I'm not buying the game, and simply don't pick it up. Star Wars Battlefront 2 needs to be a financial failure on all fronts. That might sound a little dark, that might sound a little mean, but that's what needs to happen if we're going to stop this predatory action, because I've said it before also, the government's going to step in eventually, because these loot box systems are gambling. I don't care what the industry says, I don't care what the ESRB says. These things are gambling. They're going to get people in trouble, and that's going to get the industry in trouble. So, they need to knock it off with some of these practices. And yes, I have heard, well, games are too expensive to develop. They're more riskier to develop if you're a AAA game publisher. You have got to make those big bucks. However, what we have seen in the past few years, this year especially, shows that's nothing but malarkey. We have indie games, and while there are still a problem of fishing out what are the really great indie games and what are the absolute crap, and keeping people who are out to rip people off in the indie market out of the marketplace, something Steam needs to step up its acts on. There are great games on the digital front, so we don't need these AAA publishers, and we don't need these practices. Absolutely not. Now, I'm actually kind of happy because I wasn't expecting a backlash like this to happen for at least another 2 or 3 years with them keeping on pushing the line. So this does make me happy. Some people are worried that if Star Wars is a failure, that EA will close DICE. They have made a lot of the great Battlefield games, and I enjoy the Battlefield games. I'm not too worried about this. If EA does close DICE, to blame them on this own problems and their own hubris about it, then I'm going to feel a little sad, but no more than any other studio that EA closes. When you sign EA license to buy your company, when you sign on that dotted line, you're basically signing your company's death note. The only problem is when the date's going to be signed, because EA is going to kill it eventually. That's just what EA does. So if DICE closes down, my thought is, oh well, it's just another one in their own long line. You kind of get tired of crying for these people after a while, because you know it's going to happen. On other fronts, though, I do want to talk about, because I got a response to a comment I put on Sid Alpha, is the only way to truly stop these companies is by pirating their games, and I say, absolutely not. I will never pirate a game that I can buy at a retail market. If I'm going to play a game, I am going to give the person who made the game my money. Okay? It's just the honest thing to do. If a marketplace person in the market, say a retail market, pisses you off, you don't go and steal from them. That will land you in jail if you get caught. Rather, you spend your time finding out who else on the marketplace delivers similar goods that are just as good, and you shop with them and see if they will treat you better as a customer, which is what I recommend people doing here. Instead of finding new ways to pirate and steal from people, find out people who are selling similar games that will get you gaming fix in that genre, and support them instead. Support games that aren't doing this cynical cash grab with the microtransactions and the loot boxes. They're both AAA game publishers that have decided not to do this cynical cash grab. And then there's plenty of indie games too. So find games that don't do this, and then support the developers, support the publishers when they decide not to do it. That's a better way of handling the situation. In the meantime, I got a message for EA and other publishers who continue doing this. I know it's not about the games are costing too much. I know it's not about the price of retail games haven't gone up, and despite inflation for over a decade. I know that's not true. Digital distribution has saved you guys a ton of money. You no longer have to print the discs. You no longer have to make the packages. You no longer have to sell them to retail stores. That has saved you guys a ton of money. I just have to look at your profits to show that you're still making money for the most part. Some of the Japanese developers are struggling, but then Japan has always been a stickler for not changing with the times. And as some of their development has started to change with the times, as they got new ideas, Japanese games are starting to make a comeback, I've noticed in the last year or two. So that whole argument that games cost too much and they need to have these microtransaction arguments are starting to fall flat on their face as time goes by. What this is about is appealing to the investor. Okay, here's the thing. Game companies make a lot of their money either in the spring or in the fall when they release a lot of these games, and they get a lot of the hype, they get a lot of the sales, and then they flatline until the next game comes out, and then they get another boost. If you're looking to make sure your stock market is always going up, this is not a good model. You want to always be making money. So here comes the microtransactions, here comes the loot boxes to help show that, we're always earning money even when we haven't released a new game. And if we can keep up making money on these microtransactions and on these loot boxes, we can make less games and therefore less cost. Great for the investors. Screw the customers who actually just kind of want to have a fun experience, and screw the developers who have to completely break their systems and break their original ideas to cram these in there to make the publishers money. Screw it. And you know what? This is a bad idea all the way around. The investors are important. It's important that whenever, someone invests in you, that you make money for them. That is true. However, customers and employees comes first. And when you start losing the respect of your customers, and when the developers kind of get sick of having to defend your bad ideas that they quit, then you're always doomed because the investors aren't going to stick around when you obviously can't make money because you lack the resources. So yeah, EA, I hope this game bombs. I hope this bombs big. I hope the NFL reconsiders doing business again with your Madden license. I hope Disney thinks twice before handling anything as big as Star Wars back to you, okay? I'd like to see you humbled by this completely, that you completely rethink the way you do business, because I, as well as anybody else who games, anyone else who actually looks at the industry, either as a journalist or as a gamer, is getting fed up with you and have been for a while. Like I said, it's been about 2 years since I last bought a game from you, and it's been about 5 years since I bought a game brand spanking new from you. The only time I've bought games from you in 5 years is when one of your big retail games has hit the 5 and under on a digital distributor, okay? Because of a lightning sale. That's the only time I have picked up a game from you, EA. So shape up your act if you actually want me to spend money on you. Because I like Star Wars. I would love to buy one of your Star Wars games, but I'm not going to be nickeled and dimed if I want to do business with you, EA. That's just as it is as a customer. So shape up your act. This is Tommy the Game Master, signing out. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below.